What do people mean when they say you just need to pull yourself together? It's really interesting, right? There's this like cultural saying that's like embedded into our society. When you like view someone, you maybe judge someone's who their life isn't going very well. They're giving into addictions. They're not controlling their relationships or the finances very well. And you comment with, he just needs to pull himself together. Or I don't know, if you look at your own life and your inner landscape is really chaotic, and again you're giving into addictions, you're not doing the things you need to do, and your life's not going very well, you can easily make the comment, I just need to pull myself together. So in this episode, I want to break down what this actually means by how to actually pull yourself together, and like in a theoretical way, what does this actually look like? How does one actually pull the different parts of their life together, get their different conflicting parts of their personalities into one whole and one unit that can move forward authentically? And I'm not going to be like these other YouTubers that sit there and scream at you saying, oh, you need to take life seriously, it's time to grind, blah, blah, blah. Like, the people that are screaming that on YouTube are people who are just living in their parents' houses and haven't achieved anything. And so if anyone's shouting at you or screaming at YouTube, just ignore them. They're just waffling. But what we're going to do in this episode is not shout or scream. We're going to try and break down in a theoretical framework and try and understand like the psychology behind and the application behind how to actually, like, I don't know, get these different conflicting parts and bring them into a whole and start living authentically and start feeling like, yeah, your life is moving in a direction that you want it to move in. So I think first, before we get into like the practical side, it's very important to understand like some sort of theoretical side behind the meaning of to pull yourself together. So the whole idea of that quote, you need to pull yourself together, connotes that you as yourself are moving in different directions. There's conflicting parts of you. There's parts of your personality or parts of your character that are moving in one direction, parts that are moving in other directions, parts that are moving in other directions, and you're getting pulled by each different part. Each different part is pulling you in one way, then it's pulling you in another, and it's making you very confused and very chaotic, because part of you wants to go over here, part of you wants to go over there, and it's very chaotic. It doesn't give you any clarity or any concise advice on where to actually go. And so the whole idea of pulling yourself together is to get the individual parts that have been fragmented in you and to bring them into a whole under one framework and one understanding, and bring them into one personality, into one character. And this might not make sense for people, but if you read the like psychoanalytical theory, or if you read like depth psychology, which is like from Carl Jung, or transpersonal psychology, they'll start to, and you can actually find this in Buddhism as well. If you go to like the Buddhist and the Hindu texts, you'll find them talking about this in a psychological point of view, how your psyche, or the idea of your ego or your character, your personality, whatever you want to define it as, that is made up of subcomponents of personality. So it's made up of different versions of you and act and behave in different situations. And they're all trying to come to fruition through your conscious will to act themselves out into reality. So you're not actually just one cohesive person. You're not one identity. You are made up of many thousands of millions of personalities who have got their own goals and desires and frameworks of perceiving the world. And this is why, for example, like you can speak to one person and feel extremely confident and cool and calm and collected, but then you can go and speak to a pretty girl, or you can go and speak to someone else, and you can be really anxious and afraid, and like you act different. You feel like you act different around different people, and this is because you've got different personalities who are acting themselves out and who have like adapted and evolved to strive in them different situations, or to act and behave in them situations. So there's conflicting parts of you. There's many different parts of you, and the whole idea of self-realization and self-integration is to bring as many of them parts as possible together into one framework, into one understanding, into one identity, so you can be more concise and clear. So the whole idea of putting yourself together is to stop yourself from being so fragmented, stop being like split in many different directions, and bring them under one umbrella. Like bring it as close as you can together to be concise and clear. And so this is why when you see people who can't stick to goals, people who are really struggling with procrastination, people who are really struggling with eating clean in the gym, who are struggling with like speaking to pretty girls, This is why they give up on their goals, because they have this goal of, I really want a relationship, or I really want to eat clean, I really want to get to the gym, I really want to change the way I look. And they have that as, like, in their hierarchy of goals, they think of that as the most important goal right now. It's like, right, I'm going to get into shape, or I'm going to go and make money, I'm going to go and start this career. But then they find, as they go to sit down and do that work, and they think it's the most important thing in their life, as they sit down to do the work, as they go to do the workout, they get so many distractions come up in their mind. They get so many insecurities, anxieties. They get conflicting parts of them that want to go and eat junk foods, that want to avoid the work. And so there's one part of themselves that's like, yes, I want to aim towards this like higher goal. I really want to like do this thing. But then there's conflicting parts of them that are like, nah, go and eat the junk food. Go and give into this insecurity, give into that anxiety, don't do the work, go and sit there and eat Doritos and watch YouTube, go and do this and go and do that. There's things stopping you. There's like, it seems like there's barriers in the way, right? And this can be perceived as just your reptilian brain wanting you to be comfortable. So this is like the common advice where it's like your brain just wants to be comfortable. It doesn't want to exert unnecessary energy to, I don't know, go and do extra work. So you'll get emotions that will try to keep you where you are because your brain wants to be comfortable. And this is true to a certain extent. There is a reptilian brain. It's like the amygdala, the emotional part of our brain. That just tries to keep us comfortable. It tries to keep us safe. And if it's realizing that what we're doing right now is safe, then yeah, it is going to like flare up when we try new things. But on a deeper psychological level, what it shows to me when people can't follow through with their goals, when they set themselves this goal and they go to achieve it, and they find that in the way of that idealized goal up there is barriers of conflicting behaviors of like self-destruction. What that indicates to me is that there's personalities and there's parts of themselves that don't rather want that goal or don't feel worthy of that goal, so they're self-destructing. So let's say, for example, you set the idea, the goal of I'm going to go to the gym, and then you've got this, you create this narrative in your mind. It's like, this is the most important thing for me right now. It's to go to the gym. It's to get healthy. I really want to do this. And then you find that there's always this nagging behavior of someone this nagging thought of someone who doesn't want to go to the gym, someone who really like wants to eat all the junk food. That is a subcomponent, a personality in your psyche that doesn't feel worthy enough of the pursuit of that goal. And the way to integrate that, the way to get that personality towards the goal, towards the reaching of the gym, to get it into unicity with what you actually want with your conscious will, is to understand its conflicts, to iron them out, and to get them and to bring them in line with the goals and desires of what your conscious will is. So it's all about ironing out and understanding and showing empathy for the different personalities within your character, ironing them out and then bringing them back into whole, bringing them back into one, trying to bring them back into unicity. For everything is one in reality, right? And when we're fragmented into subcomponents, that fragmentation creates chaos in our mind. It creates a state of entropy where things become chaotic. But to create order in our mind is to get the different components of our personalities, to bring the fragmentations into a whole, into something that's straight and narrow. I hope that makes sense. So if I was to do this, for example, let's say when I first started going to the gym, and I'm just going to use this for an example because it's the easiest thing. Boys, my camera keeps cutting out, so apologies if I just broke the flow of the podcast, but I'm going to have to carry on from where I was. So let's example, let's say if I set the goal of I want to go to the gym, or when I was doing this, I had this idea of I want to change my physique. Like, I'm not happy the way I look. I'm quite dissatisfied with my body and the shape of my face. I had this like proper chubby face, and I was really skinny fat, had like spots everywhere in Expo, and I was like, do you know what? I want to look better. I want to get healthy. And I tried this for a couple of years first, where I'd go to the gym and then I would just give up. Like, I wouldn't end up following through with it. Although it was in my mind that I really wanted to go to the gym and I really wanted to get healthy, the actions and the behaviors were so difficult because I had so many ideas and narratives coming up in my mind of, oh, you should go and eat this junk food. You should go and drink all this beer and take all these substances. And like, all of these distractions were coming up that were taking me away from this goal. And this was because there was part of me that didn't feel worthy enough of looking good. It didn't feel confident in my ability to actually follow through with goals. It felt ashamed of myself. It felt like I deserved the addictions and I deserved the self-destruction. It didn't want me to follow through with what my conscious will wanted, what like this true authentic part of me wanted. This, maybe we'll say, my soul, because underneath all these fragmentations and these personalities, there's this one unifying center of our core, which we could call our soul. It's the true self, as Jungian calls it, with a capital S. It's the self that kind of observes all of this. It's like the watcher of everything. And we can call this consciousness, we can call this whatever, but it's the true observer. And when you get in deep meditative states, you can really tap into this observer and you can watch all the context of your mind flow. But there was like this true authentic part of me that was like, I really want to go to the gym. I really want to get healthy. This is something that I really like. I truly desire, not the desire in a bad way. It's something that I feel like I need to go and achieve. But in the way of that goal, there was these personalities that were taking me off course. And how I started slowly integrating them personalities and understanding them and showing them empathy and bringing them into me was like having mini dialogues with them, whilst also using discipline to actually go to the gym. And like I was still, sometimes I'd quit for a couple months and I'd go back again, but the more I turned up, the more I was kind of showing this subcomponent, this subcomponent of this personality, the more I was showing it like, wow, you can actually turn up to the gym, look what's happening. All of these ideas around who you are and who you think you are, and you can't do this and you can't do that, they're actually false. They're not like underlying truths. Whilst I was showing that through discipline, I was also having mini dialogues. So I would sit down and I'd understand like why do I keep giving into like food addiction? Why do I keep drinking beer on the weekends? Why do I take all these substances? And I would have a mini dialogue with that personality that was taking me off track. I would pull myself away and speak to it and try and parent it. And it was like, yeah, I was literally being a dad and a mum to that personality, that part of me that was fragmented and was taking me off course. I try and be inquisitive about it and curious and be like, what's going through your mind? Like, why are you wanting to do these behaviors? Why are you thinking like this? And another example I can use is when I had like extreme social anxiety and I would be confident around other people, but extremely anxious around others. I would speak to myself and ask like, why does that person make you anxious? And then it would come up with an excuse and I'd follow the trail. It'd be like, oh, because he thought I was weird or she thought I was weird. I'd be like, why do you think they thought you were weird? And I would ask and be inquisitive and I would show empathy and I would sit in a dialogue. And when you're doing this, when the personalities arise up into consciousness and you get the inner conflicts of I'm not going to do this, or I want to distract myself, I want to self-destruct. If you can feel where it is in your body, if you can listen to the thoughts and the narratives, then you're embodying and you're seeing that personality. You're showing empathy for it. Instead of suppressing it and like bashing it away, when you can observe it and watch it with like equanimity, you can allow it to embody itself in you, and you can integrate it into your personality, into the core of who you are. So it really is by like getting these subcomponents of these personalities and understanding how they operate, their thoughts and beliefs, their narratives, their goals, why they act in certain ways, like really trying to get that understanding. When you bring them into your conscious will and you show empathy for it, you integrate them. And that's what self-integration is. That's what self-realization is. It's trying to get as many parts of you as possible and integrating them into the core of your soul. Is to understand them and be aware of them and show compassion for them. And it is such difficult work because we're made up of, as I said, so many different personalities, so many different components of us. And yeah, it really is a balancing act of trying to understand what are the excuses and what are the reasons why I don't think I can achieve these goals, or I'm struggling in life, I'm giving into addiction, I can't seem to hold a relationship down, I can't seem to, I don't know, pick whatever it is in your life that you're really struggling with right now. What are the things that you really want, that you're desiring, that you feel in the core of you are like the right things to do and are constantly playing in your mind as things that you want to do? It might be you want to train for, I don't know, a boxing match. It might be that you want to get in shape. It might be that you want to, like, I don't know, get a career sorted, find out a passion. Whatever it is, like, write that down. So this is something that I really want, and why am I not getting there? What are the things that are preventing me from getting there? And you'll find it's psychological issues. Like it could be stuff in the real world, and we'll get to that in a second, but mostly it's psychological issues of I don't feel like I can actually go out and achieve that. I don't feel good enough. I can't seem to concentrate. I'm always procrastinating. And them little signs of the reasons why you can't do things, they're things to dig into, and there will be reactions and behaviors from subcomponent, like these personalities are going on in your mind. And then through that knowledge, you'll get an understanding of, right, in this side of me, this part of me acts out like this in certain situations. Let's try and iron this out. Let's try and integrate it back into a whole. Let's understand it. And it might never truly go. You might never be able to fully integrate all of that into your personality. But when you become aware of things, so for example, when you become aware of like a part of you or a personality that gets anxious around certain girls, instead of believing that you are anxious and instead of believing that's just part of you and you're inherently flawed, you can start showing compassion and empathy and understanding because you've got an awareness of it. So every time that anxiety comes up now, you look at it and go, wow, this is a part of me, maybe a younger part of me that is getting anxious because it's scared. It's scared that it's going to be judged. Like he's scared that he's going to be looked at funny. And through that understanding of awareness, you've then created detachment. You're no longer attached to that narrative. You're no longer attached to that personality. You can observe it with compassion and equanimity and empathy, which will allow for that personality to feel heard and to feel seen, and it will come back integrated back into you. And even if it doesn't fully come integrated into you, even if for the rest of your life you do get a little bit anxious, or even like it still happens to me, say for the rest of your life you do feel like you're not good enough to achieve this goal or whatever, at least now you'll have the awareness of when it comes up to realize that, wow, this part of me needs to be seen, it needs to be talked to, it needs something from me. And then you can give whatever it needs to, whether that's empathy or compassion, you can give that to the personality, and you can move forward. Then you get leverage on it because you build awareness. You build this gap between the stimulus and response. It's like, wow, I notice how this part of me wants to respond like this, but now the stimulus has come in, and I can step back. I can show compassion for myself. I can take like a microsecond to be mindful, and I can act in a different way. And this all comes from awareness. But I think the theoretical understanding of that we are made up of subcomponents of personalities, that we are fragmented in different directions, I think that really helps you understand why you're struggling to achieve certain things, or why you can't seem to get your life together, or why you feel like you're so chaotic and confused. It's because the mind, if it doesn't have order, can get like that. These personalities can be so conflicting. There's parts of you that feel like they're worthy and confident. There's parts of you that feel like they're not, and they could be held in deep traumas. They could be held in perceptions. They could be held in behaviors or actual evidence of your life, whatever. But you can now understand why you struggle, and why we all struggle to like do things fluently. Why things always feel like they've got barriers in front of them. They feel difficult. It's because we have parts of us that are conflicting, that are stopping us from moving forward smoothly. And I think that theoretical understanding really helps. And I think psychologically, that's the most important part. That's the most important part to understand, is that when they say get yourself together, what they mean is try to get these different parts of you integrated as much as possible into your awareness, into your conscious will, so you can make clearer decisions, you can be clearer and more concise, and you can be more understanding, instead of being as fragmented. The next part is like that then extrapolates and abstracts into life, and then you've got different components of life as well. So you've got your finances, you've got your relationships, you've got your health, you've got your career, your passions, your hobbies, your friends, your girlfriends, whatever it is. You've got all these different subcomponents of everything that makes life. Life being this kind of like the soul is for the psyche. Life being this unicity, all of the subcomponents of relationship, finances, whatever it is, job, blah blah blah, they all fit into the cup of life. So does all the fragmentations of your personality fit into the cup of your soul. And so if we want to understand how to get our lives together in terms of like in the material world, we've got to look holistically at what we want from life and try and bring all the different fragmentations of life into this cup of life and have it all together, have it aiming towards the same-ish direction. It might be pretty hard to have a perfectly smooth life. Like maybe that just doesn't happen. I don't think I've ever seen anyone have that. But the goal is to try and get as close as possible to that. Is to iron out these different parts of our life and bring them into an understanding or a framework of a life we actually want to live. So what do you actually want for yourself? What do you, I don't know, what in your heart feels right when you look at finances? Is it, I want enough money to live the lifestyle that I want, and I want this money to come from a place of authenticity and something of creativity and something of making an impact in the world. I don't just want to get rich for the sake of getting rich. I don't want to just have Lamborghinis and this and that. I want it to come from a place of giving and curiosity and creativity. And then that means that I need to be healthy. I need to be clear-minded. I need to have non-brain fog. I need to have energy throughout the day. So then you bring your health towards what you want for your finances, and your finances then feed your health for what it needs to give you the better finances. And all of these become connected when you start understanding that everything bands under one framework. I really hope this is making sense, guys, and I'm not just like talking in circles. But yeah, like everything needs to come under one framework, and everything should try and like supplement each other instead of trying to conflict. Because if you've got like relationship desires that conflict with your financial career, which then conflict with your health, then again, you're going to be fragmented because there's parts of you that want to do well in your health and well in your finances. But we don't have an infinite amount of time. Time is finite. So there's only a certain amount of time and energy we can give in a certain day to each, and a certain week to each part of our life. And so if we have this job that takes up 80 hours a week, but then we also want to be healthy and want to have a relationship, that job there is conflicting against the health and the relationship. But let's say if we have a clarity and we have more of an ordered mind where we understand, right, I want quite a slow life. I want a peaceful life. I want a family. I want kids. And I want to have time for them. Right, then let's try and find and create a career that allows for that pursuit. Let's try and get health that gives me energy to do the pursuit, that also gives me energy with my kids, and also doesn't take up too much of my time because I want to spend a lot of time with my kids, and blah, blah, blah. And then look, you can start balancing these different aspects of your life out and bringing them under one umbrella. But it's about clarity. It's about understanding, like, what do you actually truly want from life? And I think a lot of people don't truly sit down and ever like listen to their heart or listen to and really think about things of what do you actually truly want. We all work on autopilot, and we just act out our impulses, and we just act out these narratives and the societal programming that comes from, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I need to do this, I need to do that, oh, my parents did this, so I need to do that. And we act out all of these narratives and beliefs without ever like stopping and thinking, what do I truly want? So it's about being clear and concise with things. And I think this is the best way to really like live a life that you want to live. And so what are practical ways that we can like start doing this? And first we've got to start psychologically, and we've got to set some goals. And then next we've got to like actually apply it into the actual world. We've actually got to start working towards our goals and being aware and showing empathy for the parts of us that are preventing us from achieving our goals and achieving the life that we want to achieve. So first, I really want you to sit there and just like listen to your body for a minute. Like really sit there and just think, what do I truly want to do? And what feels right in your heart? Because when you say that, your mind will come up with thoughts. It's like, you can't do that because you're not good enough. That thing you really want to do, it's a wish dream. It's never going to happen. But in your heart, in your body, you can really truly feel like, wow, this is the right thing for me to do right now. Like, I really want to have this life where, and it doesn't have to be specific, but it can be kind of like a guidance of, right, I really want to like do something creative. I want to have a podcast. I want to help people. I want to train people to get fit. I want to make a YouTube channel about football. I really want to like talk about this passion, whatever that thing is that you're really excited about, that you really want to do. Listen to that. And What does it feel like? Like, does it make you feel excited? Does it make you feel nervous, anxious? Start writing down all these conflicting feelings of how it makes you feel. That thing that you really want to do. These couple of things that really excite you. What feelings and what thoughts do you get that are maybe are pulling you towards that direction, or are pushing you away from it? What's making you anxious about that? What's making you afraid? What's giving you courage? What's giving you like enthusiasm and energy? Write down all of these feelings and thoughts, as many as you can, and just sit back and once you've written them all down and you felt them all, just like look at them and understand, like, wow, how confused is my mind? How confused am I? Because if it's something I want to do, why have I got so many conflicting narratives and ideas of reasons why I can't do it and I can do it, and reasons why I should push it off till later? Why are all of these arguing against each other? It's like your mind's arguing against other parts of your mind. And that will give you the first insight into this. This is the true realization that you're made up of different personalities. You're made up of different patterns of behaviors and beliefs and goals. And this is why it's so chaotic. This is why you're struggling to move forward concisely and in a straight line, is because everything's conflicting. And so now I want you to set a goal towards that goal. Let's break it down and let's go, what is something that I could feasibly do right now and I could do to make progress towards that goal? And what are going to be the barriers that come up to prevent me from getting towards this goal? And then start understanding them barriers and start like conceptualizing in your mind and understanding, how can I integrate these barriers? How can I break through these barriers? How could I listen to the parts of me that are coming up with them barriers? And how can I solve them problems? How can I bring them back into awareness? How can I bring them back into unicity with what I actually want to do? And then it's just a process of trying things, failing, realizing that when I do this, or when I get too far into something, my mind comes up with anxiety and depression and thoughts of I can't achieve this and I can't do that, and sitting with that and realizing how that feels and how and the thoughts and narratives that come up, and working through them and sitting with them and understanding them. And through this, you're going to self-integrate. You're going to bring things back into reality with you, back into your conscious will. And then once you can do that, it is literally just a process of iteration. It's just constantly iterating on like setting goals, what truly feels right for you, understanding the barriers, understanding the contradictions within you which are going to prevent you from achieving them goals, and then working to integrate them into an awareness that can move past them conflictions, that can move in a straight and narrow line. I keep saying that, straight and narrow line, because really that's what we want to aim for. We want to have our goal and we want it to be as least resistant as possible to our goal. And obviously reality isn't like that. Life isn't like that. Life is full of resistance. Life is full of suffering. But what we want to do is we want to cut out unnecessary suffering as much as possible. Suffering is built into the nature of reality. Pain is built into the nature of reality. Anything we want to do in life, anything that we experience, pain and suffering are going to be built inherently into that reality. But the whole goal of therapy, of psychology, of whatever it is to cut out unnecessary suffering. Suffering is not the issue. The issue is the neurosis that comes from unnecessary suffering. We create these neuroses in our minds, these anxieties and these fake forms of suffering. And we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality, that famous Seneca quote. We cause ourselves so much suffering. But the whole point in this work, the whole point in self-integration, the whole point in working towards being self-integrated is to cut out the unnecessary suffering and just suffer what we must. Because built into any achievement, into any goal, into the fabric of reality is suffering. We don't need to suffer anymore. You don't need to suffer any more than what you have to. And it's good to burden some of the suffering. It's like the more we want to achieve and the more our ambition drives us, the more suffering we take on, the more hardship we take on. But we're taking on a lot of pressure as we are. Why do we need to suffer unnecessarily? So by doing this work, by understanding yourself, by understanding your neuroses, by integrating all your personalities, by ironing out your contradictions, by showing empathy for yourself, by meditating, journaling, reading, whatever it may be, you're seizing the suffering of the unnecessary suffering. I feel like this podcast has been a bit all over the place, but it's again, I don't know what to do with these podcast boys. I don't know if to start writing things down or having guests on, but I just kind of like when I just read stuff and I'm just like, whoa, that's interesting. Let's go and talk about it. And before I even write it down or anything, I talk about it first, and I find like it kind of like clarifies my thoughts through talking about it. But I don't know if it's the most helpful for you because I don't know how coherent I come across or cohesive. So I'd love any feedback or just saying how you don't actually make sense here. Because that would really like give me an insight into what I need to do next, or do I need to spend more time writing notes down and like clarifying my thoughts before I put them out onto the internet. But I kind of feel like this is my way of clarifying my thoughts and learning about things by like teaching them. So and I'm learning as I go when I do these, which I think is interesting. It's like a balance of the unknown stuff, the unknown unarticulated knowledge that I've got sitting in my mind, and this podcast like mediates it into articulated knowledge. It's really interesting. And I recommend anyone does a podcast themselves, because like even if you just sit up your phone in the corner of the room and you try and talk into your phone for 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see how difficult it is. Like it's so difficult to speak about a subject for 5 to 10 minutes, and it starts pointing holes in your ability to articulate and your lack of knowledge. It really makes things aware for you. But that's besides the point. I just find it funny how like this is ancient, like not ancient, but it's built into society, that like cultural saying that we don't really think anything about, and it's like just get yourself together. But when you break it down and you really think about the origins of that saying and then what it actually like psychologically implicates, I think it's very interesting to think that wow, this is actually like some pretty wise advice that gets used incorrectly. And yeah, as I said before, like if you look at the Buddhist, like maybe the Pali Canon or the Dhammapada, they suggest this, and the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas will suggest this as well. How the human psyche is made up of like so many conflicting personalities, and there is this one unifying observer that sits underneath all of these. And like the more deep meditative states you get into, the more ability to become mindful you are. The better the ability to watch all of this happen and to like stay calm underneath. It's like the calm underneath the storm. And it's definitely one thing that when I meditate more, like I've dropped off of meditation a little bit, I'd say last year, but the more I meditate, the more I feel like that anchor to the core, the calm, it gets stronger and it becomes more frequent. It gets punctuated throughout my day, that calmness, and I'm able to like watch all the chaos in my mind and be able to like stay calm underneath all of that. But yeah, I think that's everything I've got to say, people, today. I hope that was helpful. I hope I did iron out what I was trying to say, and I hope that was like it made sense. If anyone's got any video ideas, I'd appreciate if you just dropped a message, or make sure you like, comment, and subscribe as well. That makes a big difference. We had quite a lot of views on my last episode, 117, which is loads for me. I looked the other day and I thought, what? That's weird. Why have I got 117 views? But I hope the content's helpful, people, and I hope it's not too long. Any advice is much appreciated. And once again, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate all your time, and I'll see you all in the next episode.